Hi and welcome to Miss Daisy Patterns online tutorials. Today we are going to be looking at making this little doll. She's completely made out of socks, and what you'll need to make her very quickly is you'll need one white sock. This is a man sock and it's size 6 to 11. A second sock. Now this sock I'm actually reusing from another project, which was the penguin that we made a couple of weeks ago, and as you can see I actually used the base of the sock here for his hat, and I kept this aside with another project in mind, so that's what we're going to do today. Now what you will also need is you're going to need scissors, going to need some sort of a felt tip marker, some sewing thread. Now I'm using some grey because there's grey in the sock, and some white sewing thread, some embroidery thread which will be for her eyes, some yarn, and the yarn is for her hair. You'll need a piece of cardboard, and this particular piece of cardboard is, now this particular piece of cardboard is just under 8.5 inches, just under 8.5 inches, and it's by 6 inches wide, and we use this to wrap around to create the hair, but I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Right, so first things first, we can place everything aside here. You start with your sock. Okay, so that's the sock, and what you do with the sock is grabbing your scissors, you're actually going to be cutting across here. Across here. This part we're not using, this part we are using. So you're cutting it straight across here. Okay, this part is left aside, and this is the part we're going to be using. Now you turn this inside out, but before you do that, if you could actually face where, you know, the top of the sock is facing you, because that's the bit that you'll want for, that's where the face is going to go. So you'll need to, rather than it laid flat, you'll need to open it back up and lay it flat in the opposite direction. Turn it right side out, flat like so. Okay. And the next step then is to grab your marker. What you're going to do is you're going to draw in the legs. Now, what I like to do is I like to fold it in half so the legs are pretty even, and once I've made my mark here, I put a similar mark here, and then I follow it around. But you know, it's, and then that's the base. Okay. It's approximate, and then draw between here. Okay. Now this bit is hand sewn, so using needle and thread, I like to double the thread, and if you just place a knot at the end like so, you're going to work a back stitch starting this here. Now what I like to do is I like to sew just inside the line, just in case any of that black marker actually happens to show through. It means that that section will be in the inside and it won't be on the outside. It won't be able to show through basically. So just very quickly we do a back stitch along the line. Now one of the other things that I didn't mention at the very beginning is that you're going to need craft filler, which is this here, and that is to stuff the body. So it's craft filler, polyfill, craft filler, polyester. Right. working your way around doing the back stitch. Now if you're not aware of how to do the back stitch, we have a tutorial online on our website that shows you how to do it. So if you'd like to log on to our website at www.missdaisypatterns.com or follow the link right here and it can show you how, or if you need to get any more information on it. Now what you do now is you only sew to here. You don't sew across here. So we've put a couple of stitches in and we're going to repeat the exact same process on the other side of the leg. Back stitching and making sure not to sew across here. So now what you just need to do is to make sure to put a couple of stitches in it to hold it in place. So that's that. Okay. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to cut off this excess here. So giving yourself a good seam allowance though, don't cut in too close to where you've sewn. So then we don't need that, we leave that aside, and what we have here is we have a space in between here. So starting from the top here, we push the sock back down with your thumb, push it through here, okay, and it pops out, and using your finger pop out one leg, then pop up the second leg. Okay, and you see that there's no dark marker coming through, it's all actually held inside. Okay, right, so this is what your body now looks like. Okay, so your body now looks like this. And the next thing that we want to do, and again you see the top where the toes, the top of the toes will go in, is facing you. So you grab some of your craft filler, separate it out, and you start filling the body. Now we're not going to stuff this very strongly or very stiffly. It's going to be slightly stuffed, just enough to give it its shape and fill it out. When I'm about 2/3 of the way down the body, what I like to do at this stage is to fill the legs, or little legs that we've made or created. Okay, so what we do here, we push it into the legs. Again on this side, making sure to pull it apart so there's no real lumpy bits. Right, that's great. Now and then we continue to fill the center. And we're not overtly filling it, you know, just giving it a nice basic shape. Okay, so okay, so that's it, pretty much filled. Okay, now we might actually get a little bit more in there, just so as it doesn't look very narrow at the base. So there we go. And put another bit over here. Right, so perfect. So that's our shape pretty much there, and we don't need the rest of that. Now what we need to do is we need to close up this section here, and what I'm going to use for that is I'm just going to use a whip stitch. Now if you need to find out how to do a whip stitch, we have a tutorial online on our website, and if you click here right now, it'll bring you to the tutorial. Right, so this should only take a couple of seconds. This off, and that's the body done. Okay, that's the body done. Now what we're going to do is, as you can see here, is we're going to create the space where her head is. Okay, so that's that there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the yarn, just a little bit of it, and about there. You know, so it's about 1/3 the head, 2/3 the body, including legs. And I'm going to tie a knot in this, bring it around the front, and tie another knot. Okay, bring it around the back again, tie another knot. So that essentially then creates the head. Okay. I'm going to snip off those threads, and that's the front of the face, and that's the head. And for the dress, I'm going to use the top part of the sock, which I fold over to create this kind of a cowl neck. Just fold it over. Now what I need to know is I need to know how long the dress is going to be. So if I position it about here, and as you can see with this one, it's got the main sort of outer dress, and then it's got a little bit of an underdress. So this main body dress here doesn't need to be as long as the entire body. So if we go to about here, line it up with the legs here. So about here, what we do then is we just cut this section off and open it up, and we're going to fit this down the body. Okay, so that is the dress on. Part of the dress on, would I say. Part of the dress on. Making sure that the cowly bit is nice and cozy up around her neck here. Okay, nice and cozy around the neck. So that's the first section done. Now, the second thing that we want to do is we want to cut the underskirt. So that's about there. Okay, so we cut this bit. And for this I kind of stretch it a bit to give it that rippled effect at the very end. You stretch it out, you get that rippled effect at the very end. And lifting up the dress. That will go on about there. Okay, it's on about there. And then this dress sits down, back down over it, creating those two layers at the end. Okay, creating the two layers at the end. If you want now, you can stitch that in place, but that would pretty much stay there as it is. So for the hair, you grab your yarn and your card, and what you're going to do is, holding on here, is you're going to wrap the yarn around the length of the card, just like so, like so. Okay. Like so. Now, what you're going to do with that is you keep wrapping until you've wrapped the yarn around the length of the card 45 times. So it's 45. And then once you've it wrapped, you pick one end, generally the end that you started with, you grab your scissors and you snip that end. And what you're going to end up with is you'll end up with a length like this of yarn for the hair. Now it's about this length by the time you're finished, okay? You separate it in half and you fold it in half like this and you tie a knot. So you've separated there, you've a left side and a right side. You tie a bow in it, and then just in from the bow you tie about ½ inch either side, you tie 2 more knots. So you've a center one, roughly center, and then you've 2 more here, but the center one is just a bow. It's just a bow. So if I do this with the bow and I do this, I can actually take it off and I'm left with a piece in the middle. Once you have these two extra pieces of yarn tied in place, you plait all the way down, and you plait all the way down. And once you've plaited all the way down, you tie more yarn and you tie off at the end, snip the 2 ends until they're nice and even. And then when you've that completed, right in the center here, you're going to grab your scissors and you're going to cut the 2 of them in half. Right, and those 2 are going to get attached here and here. So we're going to sew one on this side and sew one on the other side. So using grey thread, and you sew, you'll see where the sock is, you sew one onto this edge and one onto this edge. So you place this here, now don't worry about the piece of yarn that pop out, because all of those pieces are all actually going to be underneath the hat. Now the other thing you can do as well is you can actually glue them in place if you want to, but I don't mind sewing them. So, but you can glue. So you sew it in place, and don't worry about it, as long as it's secure. This is what you're looking for, is for it to be nice and securely attached to the head. So that's one side in. I just do a couple of stitches to make sure 100% that it's attached. Perfect. And then you line up the other side and you sew in the other side. About there, and making sure that the plaits lie evenly against the side of the body as well. So what you do is you just finish off attaching the hair. Okay, so finish off attaching the hair like so. Well attached. Okay. Now, so if there's any bits that you know are left sticking out or anything like that, you can just snip them off like so. Okay. If there's any bits you don't want. Okay. Now, so that is plaits attached. Now our next step is we want to make the hat, and generally what we could do is, had there been a bottom on the sock, we could have just used the top of the sock to just create the hat, but because we're upcycling out of this, we actually have no top, so we're going to have to sew one in place. So what we want is we want something about that length because we want a nice roll on it. Something like that. We'll have this bit left over. Grab the sock, turn it inside out and put a knot at the bottom. And then just right at the very top here, right at the very edge, do a running stitch around. So you're going to do a running stitch all the way around, gently. Go. Right, and if you pull it gently, you just pull it tightly like that. Now I've only used one single thread, so don't pull too tightly, otherwise they could snap, and then you just crisscrossing back and forward here, making sure to secure all the pieces together like so. Okay, so that should be perfect. Now what you do now is snip that off, turn it the right way around. Okay, it's the top of your hat, and then we're going to place it on her head. Okay, perfect. Roll it up, leaving space for her face. So there we go. Now, what I like to do at this point here is, if you see that there's actually a little bit of the sock itself used as bows at the bottom of the plaits, so I'll just cut off 2 strips. Snip them in half. Snip them in half and give them a bit of a stretch. You wrap bow to the side like that. And you can trim off the extra bits. Trim off the extra bits. And repeat with this one on this side. Yeah. Again, trim off these bits. That gives us our bows. So we're going to use the grey thread, and we take off enough to double it. Okay, so we're going to be taking off about that length. And because we're going to be it's doll sculpting to create the shape, we're going to have to double the thread, and also try to use a long enough needle that will actually go through the body. Now I do have a doll sculpting needle here, and that's quite long. You wouldn't need something as long as that, but you will need a longish needle. Okay, so you put 2 threads together like so, all the way to the end. Put a knot in, and trim off any of the excess that will be there. Now, the arms are positioned from just below the collar here, and they go down 3 or 4 stripes. So they go down about an inch, inch and a half. Okay, like so. And they're in about an inch from the side here. So what we do is we go, place a finger here and roughly line it up at the back, and going in through the back, out through the front. Okay, and then going back and forward and pulling tightly. And the first couple of stitches go back on themselves, just so as that you can get a good pull on the actual material. So working back and forward. You see how the shape is starting to be defined. So back and forward. And come forward. Yeah. Back and forward. Lowering the plaits, and I'd say we've gone down far enough now. Okay, so you can see what she looks like now. Right, and to finish it off, do a couple of stitches back and forward through the material, and then do a couple of back stitches on top of each other just to secure. Snip off the thread. Now we repeat that on the other side. Repeat it on the other side. Again, same distance in. Coming through. Now, so with the definition of the arms, the last and final thing that we have to do is we are going to make the face. And the face is literally just 2 semicircles here and here. And I like to just freehand put them in with 3 little eyelashes. So as I just have to do it once, I'm using embroidery thread, embroidery floss in black, and I'm keeping the whole 6 strands together. So at 6 strands together, you'll need quite a needle with quite a big eye in the top of it to do this. And roughly we're going to put them here and here. So you come in from the side, start leaving the tail in, and I'm going to work this with the back stitch. This is very similar to the eye that we did with the Cloud Baby video tutorial, which if you want to take a look at, if you click on the link here, it'll take you to it. It's similar. And if you're not comfortable directly going to sew straight into the face, what you can do is you can just draw it in. Now you'll need to have a tailor chalk pencil to draw it in with, so as that it doesn't leave a mark. You wouldn't be able to use one of these to draw it in with. I like the idea of freehand putting them in because I like the idea of them all being slightly different to each other. And if you've got lots of different socks, it'd be nice to have, you know, different faces. Right. So I'll come back in here. Now to make the eyelashes, let's go down. The eyelashes on this one, right, and then we go all the way across over here, okay. One, two, and this is the third eyelash. So 1, 2, 3. And what I like to do then is pulling up the hat, ever slightly, is come out in the head area. And then what you can do is you can do a couple of back stitches just to secure this in place. Replace the hat back on. Now what you can do is, if you don't want the hat to be coming off all the time, is you can actually put a stitch all the way around the hat. So you can just stitch it onto the head all the way around, like so. But that now essentially is your doll finished. So, and as you can see, they're the same but slightly different, and that's what I like about making these, is that there is slight variances and slight difference when you make them, and be as organic as you possibly want to with them, because their own individual look is really interesting. This one has little slightly larger eyes than this one has. Try different socks, try different colours. The hair doesn't have to be plaited. Really basically have fun making these. Now If you want to go to our penguin tutorial, which is this one, if you follow the link for this one, you can click here. Otherwise, we have far more other tutorials online on our website at www.missdaisypatterns.com. If you click here right now, you can visit our website, or if you'd like to subscribe to our channel and be kept updated as to all the different tutorials we'll be uploading over the next year, just click on the button right here. Thank you for watching today, and happy crafting.